Thanks for watching AM Northwest this morning. You know, a makeover at midlife is more than changing up your hair and clothing. It's about looking inside and discovering who you are. Here with some help, we welcome the author of the soon-to-be-released Beautiful, Confident, Powerful, The Art of Becoming Your Own Masterpiece, Sandi Rosemiller.
Good
to see you again.
It's great to be back.
Well, talk about that concept from the inside out.
Yeah, well, as we were talking in the dressing room, the congruency that makes you authentic. Where does that come from? Is it from your hair, your makeup, what you're wearing? That should just be the icing on the cake. If you don't know who you are, and hopefully we've learned that by midlife, it's time to learn.
Well, although at some point you kind of feel a little discouraged at midlife because, you know, the folks in Hollywood and all the ones we see on the magazine covers, they're getting work done.
Correct.
And maybe you can't afford it or don't want to go there.
Yeah.
And you just feel kind of frumpy and you become invisible midlife.
Well, there's that, and we live in a society that I love my country, and it tends to devalue women as we age. I mean, what do you call a great-looking silver-haired guy? You call him a silver fox.
Right.
What do we call a great-looking silver-haired woman? A cougar.
Right. Or middle-aged.
Yeah, or middle-aged. So we already have that hill to climb. So for us, it's about, if we don't love who we are on the inside, if we don't put on our own oxygen mask first and take care of ourselves first, it's not going to happen out here.
So how do you suggest we go about doing that?
Well, part of that is in what we wear. Part of it is, and that's the beautiful part of the cover. And so what I was doing was I wanted you, if the camera can come in kind of close on my lapel, if you can, if you can't, I just want to show you something real quick.
Okay.
So when you take a look at this little card right here, it doesn't, whoops,
there we go.
It doesn't like it on there as much as this little card.
Right.
Where am I trying to turn
right
the
there
right
you
way?
go.
So the difference between the two, you see, when you learn the palette that works for you, it's that simple. You just stay in your color palette, and that's one area.
Because just sticking with a color that works for you helps you immensely.
It helps you immensely. It can either age you or it can make you look younger, less tired, and all of that.
Okay.
So color's one thing, and that affects your hair and your makeup and all of that. The other part of it is when you know you look good, you feel good. And when you feel good, you look good. So that confidence comes in. Confidence creates courage. When we have more courage, we step into our power.
Well, let's take a look at some people, some before and afters, and you tell me their thoughts before and their thoughts after.
Well,
so let's take a look at Dee.
Are on their faces.
There we go.
So when you look at Dee on the left, she looks like a very friendly, midlife woman. But who is she on the right?
Yeah, she looks more confident.
Something shifted. Well, she's dropped, what, 20 years? It would appear that was in an 8-hour day. This is what we do in 8 hours. I call it a VIP day.
When you think of the before picture, are you saying she was just relaxing, or did she wasn't feeling good about herself?
That's how she walked into my studio in the morning. By the afternoon of hair and makeup and shopping with her and spending time together talking about what she's up to in her life, this is what happens. Natural radiance emerges. Now, the reason I wrote the book was because often, when I see my clients 6 months later, they don't necessarily still have that radiance because the thoughts they were thinking before we met still come in. And so it's like the habit. I mean, it doesn't change overnight. Changing your thinking takes a little practice. So that is a big piece of it because our perception is our projection. How we see the world has a lot to do with how we think.
Wow.
So there's a lot of that in the book because that's how I've shifted my world and shifted my view, is learned what was working for me and what wasn't working for me in the way I think.
Let's take a look at Lori and tell me what you did here.
Well, Lori is a radiologist. She's a doctor. She's a physician. She walked into my office on the left, and that was her that morning. In the afternoon, she just, and this is a woman who's very tired. She'd had 2 hours sleep the night before, but you can't see it in the photo on the right.
No.
That's because she's in the colors, not only the color, but the collar that works for her, the hairstyle that works for her, and the makeup that works for her. It's subtle. It's subtle. It doesn't have to be a lot. And the thing we were talking about
before. And no
before,
plastic surgery.
No, and that's exactly where I was going. Plastic surgery often, do they look better or do they just look different?
Right.
And here we clearly see she looks better.
All right, let's take a look at Pamela.
Now, Pamela is a yoga instructor. When she walked in, she couldn't even look in the camera lens. I have a little video on the website, and you can see her talking to me, and I had to ask her 3 times to speak to me into the camera lens because her confidence wasn't there. But in the photo on the right, which comes from the video, and you'll see it, she shifts right into, I mean, all of a sudden, she just owned who she was because she looked good and she felt good about who she was.
Is it then about taking time to make sure that you look good when you walk out the door?
Part of it's that, but the problem at midlife is we don't know anymore.
Right.
Some of us have done our hair and makeup the same way we did since we were 18.
Right.
And some of us have tried what we think looks good in a fashion magazine and it doesn't look good on us.
Right.
So why does it work on the mannequin and not on me? Well, I try to explain that in the book.
Right.
And this is what I do with my clients, is walk them through what works and what really doesn't, and it becomes really fast.
All right, our last before and after, Karen.
Yeah, Karen. Now, Karen's an executive, and she didn't have time for hair and makeup, so what we did on the left, and clearly she doesn't have her glasses on, but part of it is getting her into contacts, because the glasses were setting her apart. As you can see, I mean, she's not as approachable as she is on the right. It's just a matter of, this is a woman that I'm amazed we even got that smile from her, because the smile on the left was kind of forced. The smile on the right is clearly somebody who's sitting in her own skin.
You know, you're a former Miss Oregon. You came back for the latest Miss Oregon pageant.
Weekend, right.
Do you see that the women there learn? I mean, what I noticed, it seems like all the former Miss Oregons, they stay connected over the years. Like, you
Many
build
do.
lifelong friendships.
You can. It does happen, and many do. Yeah, and it's like any organization. Some you're closer to than others, but the main pageant committee is so solid in Oregon. I mean, it's really a state pageant to be proud of. And in fact, it was 43 years ago this weekend that I was crowned. I love this picture.
Wow.
And so it's fitting that I'm here for my 30th television appearance and promoting the book.
That's so
because it
funny.
all began here 43 years ago.
Well, great job and really interesting
Thank
information.
you.
Thank you very much.
So
Greatly
pleasure to be
appreciate it.
here.